welcome to the Legislative Report. I'm State Representative Rosemary Brown, and I'm joined with Robert Howell, who is the General Manager, a man that I've known for many, many years.
Yes.
Actually, General Manager of the Year
A couple years ago. Yeah.
So it's always something we like to remind Rob that he achieved at Shawnee Inn, and we are at the ShawneeCraft Brewery today, and something that I'm not quite sure a lot of people know enough about yet.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, and so I thought it would be important. We talk about employment, we talk about businesses supporting our community, and what's out there and what's kind of new. And craft breweries are really, Rob, you know that, growing in Pennsylvania, as well as a lot of our wineries. So we have a great wine trail up this way. So these are things that are becoming something new and exciting for people to understand a little bit more about. So I thought it would be a nice conversation to talk to you a little bit about the business.
That'd be
and
great.
How things going here. So you have been with Shawnee Inn for how long?
Well, on and off for about 24 years.
Wow, that's a long time.
Really.
So
I was very young. I was
Shawnee,
5 or 6 when I started. Kidding.
But you know Shawnee very well.
I do. And you know, I can't believe it. This brewery has been here for 8 years.
Yeah.
Right? And so it started as this little brewery tucked inside the resort, and sort of has grown to this tap room, which has been here for 3 years.
Right.
But you know, what we really are trying to do is take ShawneeCraft beer out a little bit more into the community, and let it flourish.
Now, originally, and we were speaking a little bit before the show, originally this was sort of independent and on its own.
Yeah.
Right? And so now it's kind of, talk to me a little bit about that. So
Well, I mean, it started as an independent business. It was started as by Charlie's Kirkwood's son, Pete, right? And Pete loved craft beer, and this was really something he wanted to do. And so we started it, and it really started as ShawneeCraft is true. ShawneeCraft is true to nature, true to the craft, which means that we're going to try to remain as true to organic products and to use local products as much as we can, and try to also really embrace sort of the hand making, the hand crafting, not only in our beer but also in the things that we use in here. So these tables, the chairs we're sitting on, everything are handcrafted by local craftsmen.
Which is wonderful.
So it's great.
Yeah, and that's a neat concept, because I mean, a lot of the food that I know, even within the inn, you're growing a lot of the food here as well.
Yeah, we try to use our own farm and our own garden, but it started as that, and then over the years it seemed really natural to make the brewery part of the resort, right? That because it's tucked right in here, because there isn't really any other destination brewery, right? You have guest rooms here, you have a brewery here, you can do your rehearsal dinner here, we have beer dinners, all these things that you can do right here in a brewery where beer is made. It's really interesting.
And it's nice because it has a very relaxed feel to it. It's tucked in, like you said, when you come into Shawnee, you come down the hill, and right before you hit the inn, you have to turn a quick right. It's sort of, for the viewers, it's tucked back. It's tucked back in there, like you said, so you see this little sign that says ShawneeCraft Brewery.
Yeah.
And you tuck back in.
If you didn't look over, you might pass by, but we try to get a big enough sign out there now that you can see it. But guests who come here, and a lot of locals and a lot of people love, because craft beer, has really come along.
Yeah.
Not only do you see breweries popping up, but you see wineries popping up, cider places popping up, and so really, as a industry, we're all sort of,
merging together to
trying
look
to
ways.
right. So there's a wine trail, there's a beverage trail that we're trying to put together. So, you're not only going to wineries, but you're going to breweries and some of the other places.
That's part of our tourism piece
Right.
for the area of when you're visiting the Poconos, where you're going to stop in and visit, whether you stay at Shawnee or you don't, but it could be, like you said, a destination.
We send
stop.
a lot of people out to go see other breweries and other wineries in the area. It's just, again, one reason to come to this destination, right? Whether you stay at Shawnee or you stay somewhere else, you can enjoy all the things that the Pocono Mountains has to offer, which is really, really great.
So what would you say, entertainment-wise, and even like I see the board loaded with Friday, Saturdays, Thursday, and also there's karaoke, there's all kinds of things happening. But if you were to say what the ShawneeCraft Brewery is known for, besides what you're saying, like using the local and
besides good beer.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
we got to be known for good beer.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. But like even with the beer part of it, I think is there one
I mean,
that sticks out to you more than...
ShawneeCraft beer is really, about sticking to the roots even of Belgian beer and German beer, right?
Okay.
So we try to, any beer that we produce, we try to keep really close to those roots. And we have some great beers that really do stick to those roots. But it's also our music. We have a Rhythm and Brews every Friday and Saturday night. So there's live music, and people can come and enjoy their favorite beer and their favorite local wine.
Yeah. Well, and so is there the tastings?
Oh yeah.
So that was something that we briefly talked about too. There's tastings and...
Well, we do a tour. We do tours Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So you can come in at noon and at 4 and do a tour and then a tasting. And that gives you an opportunity to try some of the varieties we have.
That's Wednesday through Saturday.
Sunday.
Sunday. So Wednesday through Sunday, 12 o'clock and 4 o'clock.
Yeah. And right here on at the tap room where we are right now, there are 12 taps. So there's 12 different varieties on tap at all times for you to try.
So when we came in and started the program today, behind us there was a lot of people that had just finished a tour.
Right.
So then they sort of sit for a little bit, they relax afterwards usually.
Sure, and then they try a few of their favorites, whether it's our new, like today, like now we have a new Mango Wild, right, which is a great beer and a little lighter beer. Or they can try the Bourbon Barrel Porter, which is really a great beer, but has a little whiskey in it, aged for a little longer than something else.
So a little different than what your normal run-of-the-mill.
Yeah, and that's what it's about, and I think that's what the craft beer is about, right? It's about these beers that are, really crafted by brewmasters, and our brewmaster Devin does a great job.
Right. Well, because you often think of some people, like said, people enjoy a little bit of a wine or a little bit of a beer taste, but if you don't usually drink beer, like you said, there's the craft part of it is so interesting because you're not really going after the person that always loves to have a beer. It's different now.
Yeah.
It's not the normal.
There's a difference, I think, between a beer lover and a craft beer lover, right?
Right.
And also there's people who say, you know what, I don't drink beer, and then they come here and they try some of these craft beers, whether it's a raspberry beer or some other beer, and they say, oh, I might like beer now, right? Which is really...
It's a little sweeter, or
it's a little sweeter, or there's some taste in there that they weren't used to having. It's not just about hops, it's just not about, the wheat, it's about, all the other little nuances in the beer, which is great.
Yeah, it's a whole modernized way of, tasting something and enjoying the taste. And so you're also doing, which we talked about, these food pairings. Yeah. Which is something really nice for a night out.
We did a pairing in our farm. So we did fresh stuff from the farm paired with ShawneeCraft beer, and we sort of just opened it up, and all of a sudden we had 80 people.
Wow.
And it was big. It was a lot. And so we said, we need to do it again. So we did it again for 40.
Yeah, you were sold out. I think I got an email that said, it's sold out.
It's sold out.
Wow, it's sold out. That was the first one.
That was the first one. And so we did another one immediately a couple weeks later, and it was sold out as well. But we did a smaller number, 40, so that we could keep it a little more manageable. But we want to keep those going with a certain theme, and we have one next Friday, which is, it's really in celebration of, German, Oktoberfest. Right. It's Pennsylvania Dutch paired. So it's Pennsylvania Dutch food paired with the different beers that we have. And some beers that haven't even been released yet will be in that.
Yeah.
So
and I think the pricing on that was 45?
49.
49, yeah. So
but, 5 courses, five beers.
Right.
It's great.
And again, very intimate setting.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not like a huge crowd for
actually,
people.
in the brew room, in the brew house.
Nice.
So this beer dinner is actually back where we make the beer.
Great, and we're gonna go back to where you make the beer in a little bit, just to kind of see that, so we can talk about that room a little bit. But I think that's nice for everybody to know that this is, the 40 to 50 people range.
Yeah, it's small.
Right, with those type of pairings, which is nice.
And we also serve here. We have a place in called Scratch, which serves our beer, and down they also serve pizza and pretzels, which we serve here.
Right.
So
I saw somebody walking with a pretzel.
You're like,
it looks very good.
Darn good. So the pizza and pretzels we serve are really terrific, and you can get those to help sort of, even out your beer.
Right, right. So the piece also too, as far as the economics of this industry and the tourism piece, and Pennsylvania doing a lot of these, craft breweries and the wineries, employment, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
You have, employment here with, and that's probably growing, I would assume.
Well, our
maybe
employment here is growing, and also we do things outside of here. So we're in the farmers market every week, right? So we need people to be at the farmers market. We need people to be in the tap room. We're doing events. We need people at those events to take care of those events. We're at the Beer Fest. We're at Bacon Fest. So we're doing a lot of things to help, make sure that people stay employed, and it's good for us and good for them.
It is good, and it's just interesting how the whole industry kind of popped up and was something creative and new.
And I know, and you go to a sort of a grocery store that has a beer section now, and the amount of craft beer there is amazing, and it's, as a craft beer business, sometimes you think, oh my gosh, what stiff competition, but it really means that the business is healthy, right?
Right. Because you have choices for enjoyment.
And when you have choices, it all makes us better, right? If there was no choices, we could do whatever we want. So choices make it.
Well, and you have the distribution too, piece of it. So you're distributing to outside of here to local.
Right. We have a local salesperson who goes out and tries, and we try to be in local bars and other establishments to, eventually have them say, hey, I should come to the tap room, get a tour, right, and know what's going on.
Right.
So we have things called beercation, right, where you can come and stay here, spend some time in the tap room, get your own private paired dinner, spend the night at the resort, go do all the other things that you might like to do, whether it's hiking and golf or whatever. And
a little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything, but that piece, the beer piece, is what really attracts them, right?
Right. Your specialized vacation trip.
Your specialized.
As compared to the glamping.
As opposed to the glamping,
which is amazing too.
And we serve ShawneeCraft beer while you glamp.
Oh, isn't that interesting?
Yeah. So
for those two watching, glamour camping.
Glamorous camping.
Glamping.
Yes, it's glamping.
So I know a lot of people that have done that and really enjoyed it as well. So.
Yeah, it's been really great. It's on our island, and it's really an adventure, right?
Yeah.
You have to take your canoe out there
and go out.
And it's really great. And someone stays with you though. We have a.
Oh, do you? Okay.
We have a glamping concierge.
Very nice.
They're the one who serves you your ShawneeCraft beer.
Very nice. See, that's the glamour part.
That's the glamour part.
Glamour camping.
Yeah, bed, electricity, all that is.
Yeah, so it's a little bit different.
It's good. It's good. So, but what we also have done with having the craft brewery is our guests have more choices too, right? They have the opportunity to have that at their events. And all those things.
They can walk down.
Yeah, they can come down here, right? And now we have entertainment here, and it's much, it makes it a more vibrant atmosphere. Really good.
And I noticed too, there's a lot of local names on your entertainment list, which is very nice.
Oh yeah.
So a lot of local musicians are playing here, which is very nice to support the arts in the community as well. And both you and I.
Lots. Yes, exactly.
So
we were talking about the local arts.
But I do.
You
see that on the board, which is nice to see that support.
And also, we have taken to naming the new beers after historical places around here, right?
That's very interesting.
So we're really trying to take, a little bit of Shawnee and a little bit of the history of the resort and the area and put it into our new beers.
Very nice. So it's getting its trademark from the Poconos.
It's going to get its trademark now from the Pocono Mountains.
Very
nice. It's nice to be here. It's nice to be in the Pocono Mountains. It's nice to be at Shawnee and really, embracing the local community.
Great. Thank you, Robin. And anything else before we head to the back to look at the real process back there? Anything else you want to say about the room or?
Well, no, I mean, this is a great space. It's a great place to come and relax. It's a great place to bring friends and just, try some craft beer, spend some good time together, and, help the local economy.
Great. Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
Listen, with that, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back, and we're going to head back to where this is all made. Thank you for watching the Legislative Report.
Did you know that in the corridors in the first floor of the capital of Pennsylvania, there are nearly 400 individual mosaics? The idea for creating these intricate tiles was first suggested by Henry C. Mercer in 1902. A year later, he received the commission to prove 16,000 square feet of pavement tiles for the Great Rotunda and corridors of the new state capitol building in Harrisburg. Mercer set about designing subjects for approximately 400 mosaics. He chose as his general theme the history of Pennsylvania, and he soon realized that his tiles could tell stories. Although the arrangement seems random, the mosaics are very thoughtfully placed in the floor. The tile sequence is roughly chronological, beginning at one end with the scenes depicting the Native Americans. The mosaics progress into the story of European habitation in the New World and encompass the Commonwealth's triumph through process and intervention. Now you know.
Did you know that Act 16 of 1999 honors one of the greatest leaders in the Pennsylvania House of Representatives? The Matthew J. Ryan Legislative Office Building, once known as the Capitol Annex, is located next to the main Capitol building and honors the late Speaker of the House, Matthew J. Ryan. Those who visit this building will observe the magnificent architectural designs providing eloquence and grandeur to the building. Known as one of the greatest members in the history of the Pennsylvania State House, Matthew Ryan started his career in the legislature in 1963 and was elected Speaker in 1981. His charisma and knowledge will forever be reflected in the building now named after this great legislative leader. Now you know. Did you know that on October 4th, 1911, the statues that greet visitors in front of the state capitol building in Harrisburg were dedicated to the citizens of the Commonwealth? In 1902, George Gray Bernard was commissioned to design the figures that embellish the front of the Capitol building. During the installation period, Bernard explained to the General Assembly what each sculpture symbolized. The Southern group, titled The Burden of Life, depicts the story of Adam and Eve followed by the fall of man in the forms of despair. The Northern group, titled Love and Labor, depicts male and female figures reaping fruits of labor and advances to a new Adam and Eve who gaze westward into the future. Recently, both sculptures underwent restoration to prevent further deterioration from their natural beauty. Now you know.
Welcome back to the Legislative Report. I'm State Representative Rosemary Brown, and I'm with Rob Howell, the General Manager of Shawnee, and we're at ShawneeCraft Brewery, and we are now in the brew house,
Right.
as you term it. So this is pretty neat. I haven't been into a brewery to see this. Obviously, I see the vats kind of, you see this sometimes through the window or you see it through different measures, but it's neat to be back here. It's interesting. We want to show the viewers a little bit about how the craft brewery operates and the different beers that are out there, and they change, which I think is something that people should know about the craft brewery too. So
Yeah, I mean, this is where the magic happens, right? But we have what we call our reliables, right? So these are the beers that we have most of the time. So our reliables are things that are more in the vats than anything else. So those are what we call our beer blanche, which is like a Blue Moon, a little wheat beer. Our session IPAs are very popular these days. That's in here. Our session porter, which is a dark beer, more Guinness-like. Those are our reliables. And then we have what we call our intermittents, which are seasonal beers. Beers that are a raspberry beer that change around, or a pumpkin beer that's coming out, or those kind of beers. And then we have our heirloom beers, ones that are really, they spend a long time aging, or they take a lot to really craft. So those are bourbon barrel porters. Those are what's called VSOP, which is a very special old pale. Those beers take a little longer. So we have all those different varieties, and those sit in the tanks. Again.
yeah, right, because we saw the barrels too.
Yeah.
And so you were saying those have to really age.
Right. So
and
they
those
go
are the
from
specific-
So it goes from the mash tun, which is over here.
Yeah,
to
which
to the fermenters, and then from there some of it goes into the barrels to age. Yep.
right. So let's go back to that, because we walked over there before, and so the first stage. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, I mean, first of all, it goes into the mash tun. The mash tun is where everything gets heated up, and those things get started, right? And the beer really
It's a foundation, so to
it's really
speak.
it's really where the foundation of the beer happens, right? From there, they move it out of the mash tun into one of the fermenters, one of the kettles here, and so from there, depending on how long a beer needs to stay in the kettles, what temperature it needs to be at, and they vary. And again, all that is up to the brewmaster, our brewmaster Devin Vogel, who's not here today. He really watches a lot, and sometimes when a beer is moving or in the kettle, it really needs to be watched.
Right.
Needs to stay in temperature, needs to stay in certain areas, and if it stays out of temperature for long enough,
Not good, right.
not good.
So it's interesting because it is science.
It is.
And the brewmaster is really the scientist that gets to have a lot of fun here and decide maybe flavors or what might be on the menu or what's seasonal.
Is it a
or making
vanilla
less.
bean porter, right? And do we need to get vanilla beans from Madagascar, right? And those are what we're putting into there. Or do we get pumpkins from our own garden and bring them in here, cut them up, put them in, and make the pumpkin beer? Or are we getting, all sorts of things that they put into beer, all sorts of spices and those things that make either a saison, or a Brett Blanche, or those things that really make a great crafted beer.
Right.
Again, the mad scientist is creating. So something different.
Now, is there, and I don't know if you even know this, so I'll throw it out though, is there the training for a brewmaster or the requirement? How does somebody become a brewmaster?
Well, I mean,
employment, that's pretty interesting.
I think in general, brewmaster, there's a lot of, again, passion and a lot of on-the-job training. But there is school that they can go to.
Right.
There is beer schools that they can go to learn how to brew. But I think
After working someplace.
I think the nuances, right, are learned sort of in here and working for somebody who has a passion for this.
Right, well, because you can have a lot of creativity,
Oh, yeah.
but you still have to know the science, like you said, on the levels and the temperatures and what may be.
I mean, somebody said, I'm going to try to make a beer with chocolate. I'm going to try to make a beer, right, with whatever, right? Cocoa beans I'm going to put in there. I'm going to put peanut butter in there.
Right.
So somebody, watermelon, I don't know. All sorts of beers that everybody says.
Who do you find as far as, we're on the border of New Jersey and, in the Pike County area on New York, but do you find other craft brewers, the closest one here in New Jersey, New York? I mean, is there a relationship with the craft brewers?
I do think that there is a relationship, and they
Right.
know each other, and they talk to each other about what they're doing and how they're doing it. If I ask our brewmaster, what's going on in the craft beers and what's going on, he can tell me, yeah, over here they're doing this, and down at Soul or or Victory or wherever they're doing these things. So I am learning a lot, and he learns a lot just by talking to some other brewmasters, and they go sometimes to those other breweries.
Well, and in the state we have the associations that, between the wineries and the brewers, like they really support the initiatives and the business behind these type of businesses and what it means for, policies or employment and for tourism and what it may be. So they are always kind of bringing the attention to us as legislators what's important to these businesses from their association. So they represent all of, most of them are members of these state associations. So it's interesting.
Sure. I mean, and a lot of the craft brewers are sort of individuals that had passion and wanted to get their beer out there to other people. So they need the help of that Professional Brewers Association that the state has, which is really a wonderful, wonderful for the information they give and for the support that they can give to all of us who sometimes...
Especially as a newer industry as it moves forward. So are there, because it's so creative and unique, these are things that are just going through my head.
Sure.
Are there contests or something of the beer of the year or the craft brewer of the year? Is there something like that goes?
Oh, sure. Those are statewide or regional wide or national that you can be part of those, and we have been part of those locally, and our beer has been recognized. It's been a while since we've done that. You can really participate in those and move forward and have the best beer of this and the best beer of that.
And get the recognition.
So many different varieties, right? Whether it's whether it's a lighter beer or it's a darker beer or it's a, from beer that takes a lot more aging. So there are a lot of categories and a lot of things that are judged.
Well, thank you, Robin. And so we're going to go repeat one more time what we repeated in the beginning of the show, that 12 to 4, Wednesday through Sunday, 12 and 4, not 12 through 4, 12 and 4. So right. They'd be here for a long time.
Right.
So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 12 o'clock and 4 o'clock tours.
Right.
For people that would like to see
Come
the
and
brew
see.
house,
Come see the brew house. Oh yeah.
The brew, and kind of learn a little bit about the craft brewing process. And
someone from here will take you. Sometimes it's the brewmaster himself. Sometimes it's the his assistant will take you through. But someone will take you through and show you what the process and exactly what happens. It's a great few moments. Yeah. Anytime that you can come down and come to the tap room and just talk to the brewer. Sometimes he's behind the bar, so he knows a lot. It's really fun.
Right.
And we give people the opportunity to come down here and do a lot of different things. You can canoe and brew, you can hike and brew, you can do a lot of things. So you get a little bit of your relaxation of activity and then your relaxation of sitting.
Right.
So,
And Shawnee is such a beautiful location,
so
right on the
lucky.
Delaware River. And we were talking about also the Gem and Keystone right up at the top of the hill, another great business that, employment and giving great service to people. So that works with your whole community. You're almost a little community here in Shawnee,
We are.
which is so nice.
And again, the Gem and Keystone has all the ShawneeCraft beer there. So if you can't get here to have ShawneeCraft beer during the times when it's open,
They also have
it, so you can go there.
right, which is nice. So
Yeah.
so it's both locations for people.
Very lucky.
Well, Rob, I thank you very much.
thank
and
you.
And we really wanted to, anytime there's a new business that we feel people really not maybe as aware of the process and how it's building across the state of Pennsylvania. So it's 8 years.
8 years.
So it's amazing, but I think it's interesting for people to hear about this craft brewing process and how the economics are really building in Pennsylvania. So
Yeah,
I
great.
thank you. I thank Shawnee.
Thank you.
For their employment for people, and
you're welcome.
hopefully you'll see some of our local people visiting
Hopefully.
as well.
Okay.
So thank you for joining the Legislative Report. I'm State Representative Rosemary Brown. If you have any questions regarding this show or any other state-related matter, please feel free to contact my office.